welcome to Vlogmas day 19. It is currently, what time? 6 o'clock in the evening as I am filming this. I have been rubbish today and have not filmed anything because I've literally not done anything. I've been in my pyjamas all day. Not gonna lie, I'm still wearing my pyjama bottoms now. I just had nothing to film really, so I just thought I will do a sit down video, have a quick chat, and then I can get straight back to my pyjamas again. So yeah, today I'm going to do a video on baby names, as you guys seem to love talking about baby names as much as I do. I thought once I'd had Wilf and I wasn't pregnant anymore, my obsession with baby names and baby name videos would die down, but they're not. I cannot get enough of them. I just love baby names. I could talk about baby names all day and all night, and I'm constantly adding ones to my list for if I'm ever lucky enough to have children in the future. I'm always adding new names onto my list. So, as most of you who watch my videos a lot will know, my little boy is called Wilf. His full name is Wilfred, so he has quite a old school vintage name, which is definitely something I personally really like. So I thought today I would give you 10 vintage baby names, 5 girls and 5 boys. Yeah, I'm not going to go into any great detail about them, but I thought it might just give some of you some ideas if you also like vintage baby names. And a vintage baby name is definitely something I would want for any future babies, so they complement Wilf's name. So yeah, basically just like old people's names. So I will start with the girls' names, and first on my list is Aida. I know Ava's really popular and I think that's a really pretty name, but I think Aida is still a little bit more unusual, which I really like in a name. I think it's really simple, it's really snappy, it's really classy, and I think it's really cute for a young girl, but I think on an older person my age or someone much older, I think it kind of follows you through. Yeah, so Aida is my first choice for vintage baby names. Number 2 on my list is one that is super popular at the moment, but it doesn't put me off it. Normally if something's really popular I'm like, I don't know, but I just love this name, and that is Florence. I just love the name Florence. I think it's so pretty, so girly. I basically say this about all names. It's pretty and it's girly, but that is what I like in a girl's name, and I just love Florence. I think it is a classic, but I also think it sounds really cool. I think it's quite, dare I say, edgy. I just really like Florence, and I like that you can shorten it to Flo or Florrie. I know the Meldrums call their Florence Florrie, and I think that's really pretty, but I personally just really like the full name Florence. The third vintage baby name on my list is Beatrice. Beatrice I love shortened to B, just B-E-A. I think that is so, what can I say that's not so pretty? I also know Beatrix is getting quite popular now, but I personally prefer Beatrice. I just completely love it, and I think it's one that's definitely rising in popularity. It's definitely creeping on up there in popularity, but I don't think it's still not super popular. There aren't too many Beatrices, but I think it's quite it's quite sassy Beatrice. I feel like a Beatrice would have some attitude about her and a bit of sass. So that is my third vintage girl baby name offering. Number 4 on my list is definitely a massive Marmite name. I think some people will love it and some people will absolutely hate it. It is one that I personally love, but I will tell you why I would never use it, and it is Dorothy. I love Dorothy. One of my favourite films of all time is The Wizard of Oz. I've watched it hundreds if not thousands of times. I used to be obsessed with The Wizard of Oz when I was younger, and obviously Dorothy is a very famous character in The Wizard of Oz. I just love it, and I love it short to Dot or Dotty, but personally I'll tell you I would never use it because my surname is Cotter, and obviously if you're in the UK and you're familiar with EastEnders, Dot Cotton is a very established character in that soap, and not one that instantly makes you think, cute baby girl. So I think Dot Cotter would maybe be a little bit too close to home. It also, now I've said it out loud, sounds a bit like .com. .cotter.com. No, it wouldn't work, but if you have a better surname than me, I think Dorothy or Dot or Dotty would be so lovely for a little baby girl, and I think it's one of those ones that won't be super popular. I can't see it massively taking off. It might do in the future. I could eat my words, but I think Dorothy might stay quite under the radar for a little while longer. And my final baby girl name, again, is one I would absolutely consider, but I can't use it because it's very similar to someone I've already got in my family, and that is the name Lillian. I love the name Lillian. Obviously, my niece is called Lily, so that is far too close, so I couldn't have a Lillian with a Lily in the family. But I love the name Lillian, and if any of you, going back to like my 18-year-old emo self, listened to Plus 44, they were like one of the offshoots from Blink-182. They had a song called Lillian, and I loved the name from then. I was just like, that is a great name. So yeah, let me know in the comments if we have any Plus 44 fans that watch this video. But yeah, they had a song called Lillian, and I just love that song. I think the name Lily is absolutely beautiful, but I just think Lillian is a little more unusual. And you could still shorten it to Lil or Lily if you wanted to. So yeah, number 5 on my vintage baby name list for a girl is Lillian. So on to the boys' names now, and if you've watched any of my baby name videos before, oh, let me just get comfy. If you've watched any of my baby name videos before, you will know I find boys' names much harder than girls' names. My favourite baby name for a boy is obviously Wilf. That is what I called my little boy, and that is a beautiful vintage name, but I won't include it in this video because you've all heard it a million times. So my first vintage baby boy's name is actually Wilf's middle name, and that is Theodore. Theodore is super popular now. It's definitely in the top 100 baby names, I think, and I can totally see why. It can be shortened to Theo, it can be shortened to Teddy, so whatever kind of like vibe you want to go for. I think Theo and Teddy give off two very different kind of like vibes and impressions for a baby, so I think Theodore's really versatile, and it's just a classic, isn't it? I just really like it. I think it's like a really strong boy's name, and yeah, Wilf's middle name is Theodore, as you all know, so Wilfred Theodore. He's got a very like all the way through vintage old school name. Number 2 on my list for vintage baby boys names is Reggie. I think Reggie is so cute. It's like really cheeky. I think it's a very cheeky baby boy's name, and I actually think it's going to be quite big. I think that one's one that's like really coming back. I think it gives off like a really cheeky boy impression, and I think it like really suits a boy, but it really suits a man as well. Like, I think you could totally see a man being called Reggie, whereas I think with some of the more like cheeky names, they like suit a boy, but you can't really imagine a man being called that. That might just be me. Let me know in the comments what you think. But yeah, number 2 is Reggie. Number 3 on my list is Albert. I really like the name Albert. I love that you can shorten it to Bertie, or you can shorten it to Albie. I actually follow 2 people on Instagram who had babies around the same time as me, one of which had a Bertie and one of which had an Albie. I'm not sure if either of them are called Albert in full and have it shortened, but either way I think they're really nice derivatives of a very like vintage classic name. So you have loads of choice with that, and I think it gives them flexibility when they're a bit older to kind of call themselves whatever they like, if Albert's a bit much for them. So yeah, Albert is number 3, and I think a real classic. Number 4 on my list is another classic, and that is Arthur. I have a cousin called Arthur. I really like it. It's a really classic name, but I particularly like Arthur shortened to Artie. So Artie would be my choice, but I think it does come from the name Arthur. Again, with like Bertie, Artie, I think it's really cute, really cheeky, but you've got that option to have that kind of like longer, more classic name, but with like a bit of a modern twist. So yeah, I really like that about vintage names. I really like that you can have something really classic that kind of everyone's familiar with, but you've given it like a bit of a modern twist. And my final vintage baby name is another boy's name, and that is Rupert. I really like Rupert. I love Rue for short, and if I had another boy, it would be something I would consider. I really like the name Rupert. I think it's so cute. But then there's also the actor, obviously, Rupert Grint. He was Ron Weasley, and I think he's made Rupert a bit cool again. And I just really like it, and I think Rue for a little baby Rue, I think is adorable. So that is number 5 on my list of vintage boys' names. I do have a couple of vintage baby boys' names and a couple of vintage baby girls' names that I have reserved for if I ever am lucky enough to have another baby. They're ones that have come to me since having Wolf, so I've not mentioned them in videos before, but their names I really, really like, so I'm going to keep them under wraps just in case I'm ever lucky enough to have baby number 2. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 20. 20! Cannot believe I've actually kept up with this. And we will be back to normal daily vlogging. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there and I will see you all tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 20. Bye, guys!